welcome to the Victorious Living Solutions podcast. I'm your host, Nikeya Young, and we have a very, very special guest with us today. And you see her lovely face. I'm going to tell you a few things about her. The lovely Miss J is a co-host on Joyce Meyer's Talk It Out podcast that approximately 6 million people have downloaded. So if you do not know, get in the know. It's a great podcast. Co-host on Joyce Meyer's Enjoying Everyday Life, syndicated in 2/3 of the world and translated in over 100 languages. She's a singer, songwriter. Do you still act, Jay?
I do.
I love it. Listen, you name it, she does it, okay? Amazing mom. She's been nominated for a hip hop album of the year. You've seen her or heard her or both with Lecrae, Trip Lee, Tadashi. She is just, listen, we'll be here all day reading.
Listen.
She is all the things. And I am so excited to have Jay. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. So glad to be here.
Oh, you are so welcome. So we're just having sister chat, okay?
We need it. After the day we done had.
Listen, okay.
Again, thank you for having me on here. And for those that don't know my story, again, my name is Jay and I live in St. Louis, Missouri. And I am a 40-year-old woman who was a virgin until marriage and recently have gone through divorce. And so I was married almost 20 years. And for it to just all of a sudden come crumbling down was something that was not only life altering, it was traumatic. It was faith shaking. It was also what I'm learning, maybe one of the best things that ever happened to me because I'm evolving into who God wants me to truly be right now. But just taking it back a little bit, like I said, I'm from St. Louis. I'm a pastor's kid. So any PKs listening, hey, we can all talk about all of those stories on a whole nother podcast because it's different being a pastor's kid. There are good times, but there are also lots of bad times, and trying to live up to that idea of perfection, or either the extreme opposite of being the trouble kid. Because, like you either are the straight A student or you're the wilding out kid when people think of pastors' kids. And so I always tried to lean towards trying to live towards perfection. I was one of those people that really didn't feel like grace really needed me much because I didn't make many mistakes. I intentionally, tried to live a life of purity and the straight and narrow. And so then when I was 11, I met my ex. At the time, the love of my life. And I was 11 years old and knew that I was in love with this guy. And we were the same height at the time because I was only 11, but he kept growing. I'm only 5'1". And he grew to be 6'7". And by the time I was 19, he had already done a lot of trash in his life. And at one point, I remember telling him, you could never be my spiritual leader, just because he was wilding out so bad. And but I forgave him because he was also like family from the very beginning because we'd known each other for so long. He and his mom had gone to our church for so long. And then when I was 20, we got married. My dad kind of forced us to get married. We were engaged and I was born and raised in Church of God in Christ. So I was Pentecostal background, very, very traditional, very, very legalistic, honestly, where like we couldn't even wear red, we couldn't wear pants. Back in the day, my parents couldn't even go to the movies, like things like that. And so having a long engagement wasn't something that the church really smiled upon. Even though I was a virgin, wasn't thinking about sex, wasn't thinking about doing anything like that. I was very focused on my schooling, and because I had accelerated in school so quickly. I was in my junior year of college and I really wasn't trying to get married. I was like, I want to commit to this person, but I don't want to be married yet. I don't want because I was a cheerleader. I was about to start cheering for a semi-pro team. And so that part plays a big role in the story because my father's control and who he was as a pastor, I pretty much distorted the voice of God for my dad's voice. And so I lean towards okay, if my dad says it, then that means God said it. I really didn't seek God for myself. I would pray, but then I'd also talk to my parents and I would listen to my dad. And so my dad was basically like, either you're going to marry him now or not going to be with him. And so in my mind, I really thought
Wow.
he had that kind of control over my life where I was like, okay, cool. All right, we won't do the marriage thing. Fine. Like that's not what we're going to do. I mean, we're not the marriage thing. We're not going to do the long engaged.
Engagement.
I didn't
Yeah.
want to be I didn't want to be married to him until after I finished college because I was the
Mhm.
first person in my family to go to a 4-year college in 4 years, and then I wanted to go straight to grad school. So I wanted a 6-year span of being dedicated to schooling, and so that got
Rightfully so. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
like I wanted to just stay focused on it, and of course, and reach other goals as well. But
Mhm.
little did I know I would be married the summer of my junior year, and then my whole senior year, I ended up pregnant. Like I was fertile myrtle and got pregnant really quickly. Like we got pregnant like my third month of being married, and so
Wow. Like
girl,
that escalated quickly.
girl. And so I'm walking around my senior year of college, huge. Look, I felt like the thing that I tried not to be, being a virgin all through high school, was like, I didn't want to be a teen mom. My mom was a teen mom, and she told me all of her difficulties of going to school and things like that while being
Mhm.
pregnant. And I didn't want that for me, but I still felt like that. I felt like a part of my college experience was somewhat robbed by the fact that I had to
Mhm.
submit my body, which I wasn't ready for sexually. I wasn't ready for sex at all. My body wasn't ready. Like at my first night of having sex, I was like this, like tense. I was just not ready for it mentally at
Yeah.
all. And
A
so,
lot.
yeah. And so then fast forward, we lived a churchy Christian life. I've done lots of things, toured with lots of people, Mary, like you said, Lecrae, all these awesome people, and done a lot of things in marketing, done a lot of things in ministry, worked with even like TD Jakes and like you
Mhm.
said, Joyce Meyer, done some amazing things around the world, but still married and super faithful, never cheated, even though I was on these tours with some of these raggedy men that did not care that I was married. Did not care that I was married, but I
Mhm.
was so faithful that I just even look at all. But then I remember having to have a hysterectomy in 2017. They found
Wow.
fibroids that they thought could potentially be cancerous, and so we removed them, and I had to have a hysterectomy. I was How old was I? Because I'm 40 now. Do the math, y'all. But I'll be 41 in a couple months.
Mhm.
But yeah, I had to have a hysterectomy, and I just felt also things in my marriage were really different. Like my ex
Mhm.
had built this brand for him, and I put my whole heart into our marriage and our family and our ministry. I just gotten our nonprofit up and going. And then he was on the road a lot doing ministry work. He was praying for people, healing. It was like lots of healing. He was super anointed with that. And then I just felt that like God was tugging at my heart to tell me something wasn't right. But whenever I would confront him, he would deny it. And so that
Mhm.
happened for almost 3 years. And then finally, I was just like, God, before 2020 comes, into like, because 2020, I was a worship pastor at a huge church in St. Louis and in
Mhm.
West Palm Beach, and they wanted to do an entire revival about 2020 clarity. Every church wanted to do 2020 clarity
Yeah.
because I was the global worship
2020 vision. Yeah.
2020 vision. 2020. It's our time to talk about vision and clarity. I say,
Mhm.
get it, get. So they want
2020 was like, watch this.
y'all want to talk about clarity? Watch this shut down, okay? 2020 had a plan for us too, okay, baby. So we did the whole before we did the revival. I was like, I have to go on a fast, so I went on a 20-day fast. I didn't eat anything, just drank
Mhm.
like water. And I was like, God, you got to show me what's going on because something's not right in my marriage. He
Mhm.
seems happier when he's out doing ministry than he is with me. Like something is not okay. And I started having dreams, y'all. 2020 clarity. Here we go. And so I
Mhm.
started seeing things. And then I found out, come fast forward through the whole thing, he was having an affair with one of my close friends that was married to another close friend. And so they had been having an affair for about 3 years. And then I was
Wow.
willing, because of all of my trauma that I had from being a pastor's kid with my dad, just in life that I brought to my marriage, I was willing to work it out with him because I understood that whatever led him to that place of wanting something different, I was a part of that. I was a part of the
Mhm.
demise of our marriage being broken. Now, him cheating, I ain't got nothing to do with that. Him getting in somebody's bed, that ain't got nothing to do with that,
Yeah.
But I was willing to own my part of it and go through counseling and seek help. Even though I told myself, if my man if he ever cheat on me, I'm done and I'm busting window. I wanted the whole moment. I didn't do none of that, y'all. I didn't do none of that. But then,
Mhm.
then he ended up moving out on me on Valentine's Day, and served me with papers and moved to a whole nother state. And now he's remarried. So talk about life being turned upside down. My daughter's now in college, so I'm by myself and
A
starting over
lot.
at 40. So like what was my whole foundation for the past 20 years has completely changed. So yeah, that took a lot longer than what you thought, but that's it. I
No,
could have gone
that's
longer.
I know. No, you did a good job because that was like a whole season,
Lifetime
Netflix
season.
season, truncated into a few
It's
minutes.
like you binge watched the whole season.
How?
Ain't that
Oh,
something? Look, I gotta take a drink of.
look, okay, because that's a lot. And you spoke some. There's a whole lot we can pick apart
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
I heard you mention before that you got married young, and everyone would just kind of assume, oh, they probably because she got pregnant, and then the church is like, you if you get pregnant, you getting married. It's not no discussion. That's it. So it's very interesting that you talk about how no, like you were a virgin. It was not like
I was a
anything like that.
virgin. Didn't even know what that thing looked like. Listen, I was such a virgin on my wedding night. I'm in the bathroom at the hotel, spazzing out like, oh God, what am I about to do with that? I don't know. I was like, ooh, can we just watch movies? Oh, don't know what to do
Girl,
with it.
woo, that's a lot, and we're laughing, but no, seriously, like just there is not the church. That's a whole other
That,
podcast.
that ain't it though? Like, because here's the thing.
The church does not prepare you for sex
I didn't
at
even know
all.
what my anatomy looked like either, because I thought even looking at myself was
Was
going to
probably
send me
wrong or
to hell,
something. Yeah.
was going to make me a pervert and send me to hell. Like that's how.
See?
But this is why now, post all of this, I'm able to look back and through a lot of therapy and a lot of time with God, meditation, praying, and just really self-reflecting. I'm able to look back and say, like, okay, I even started this with my daughter. Like, I made sure, like, I talk about all of this stuff with her
Yes.
from an early age, because I never want another young lady that, for the sake of Christianity, not even know her own body. I didn't even go to the gynecologist until I was like, I think I'm supposed to go there before I get married. Like, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what to
Yeah.
do. So
Just like,
it's
what do I
that's
do? Yeah.
exactly, but that's one of those things too where life, at that point, my life had flipped upside down, because I'm like, I go from not even caring about that kind of stuff to then all of a sudden now having the pressure of being like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to be a wife. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to
Mhm.
give my body to some. I have to be naked in front of somebody. Like, you know,
Like what?
like what am I like? So all of a sudden, I'm supposed to go from a nun to a stripper. I don't
Right,
understand.
right. It's like we spend so much time being told we can't even wear lipstick. We can't wear, nothing like as church girls. And then
Yeah,
it's like now all of a sudden so somebody's supposed to just flip a light switch and it's just like, woo, I'm sexy. Like, what
right.
is
I'm supposed to
sexy?
drop
Like,
it.
what does that even look like?
Honey, I don't even know what I'm dropping. I don't know what I'm dropping like it's hot. I don't even know. I don't even know how to warm it up. I don't know. I don't know how to drop it like it's hot. It's not even warm. I don't know what I'm doing. Like nobody
Yeah.
taught me this in Sunday school. Nobody. All of a sudden, like immaculate conception. That's what I heard. You know what I mean? Like
See.
nobody talk about all that stuff. So yeah, that was one of my biggest traumatic. It was traumatizing, and it honestly set my marriage up for failure.
Hmm.
Like it really did. Looking back, even though we lasted for a very long time, like I said, almost 20 years. The we were 2 months shy of
Mhm.
oh wait, no, 1 month shy of 20 years when we divorced. And so yeah, like the church has to take some responsibility. When I
Mhm.
say the church, I'm talking about religion, like the religious westernized church has to
Yes.
take some responsibility in some ownership in a lot of these like failed marriages. Because of my ignorance, I didn't even know how to even please my husband. I didn't know
Mhm.
what that was, but all of a sudden I'm supposed to know
Just through
automatically.
osmosis. You just supposed to, yeah.
What
Mhm.
I'm supposed to with the Bible? I'm supposed to put the Bible in my hand and figure it out? What? And because even when I was young, I would try to read the Song of Solomon, and I would get in trouble for that. I'm like,
See,
Mama, what does he mean that her breasts are like,
yeah.
oh, you know? So yeah, that's a whole nother thing. But yes, that I think it did have something to do with the failure of my marriage. Nothing. Now let's keep it clear. When I say that, I'm not giving him a pass on cheating on me because there's no
It's
reason.
not
to cheat.
okay.
It's
Yeah.
not okay. There's no
Yeah.
justification. There's no reason. He can't blame it on the church. He can't blame it on my daddy, my trauma, me, my attitude, nothing. That ain't got nothing to do with it. Because all that stuff can be talked about, dealt with, and healed and move forward. Or we could come to a decision where an agreement where we can both agree that this marriage isn't working and we can separate and part ways
Amicably. Yeah.
amicably.
Yeah.
There's no reason to cheat. There's just none
Yeah.
whatsoever. So there's my TED talk.
Girl. And there's a lot to pick apart in terms of the boundaries that oftentimes the way we're taught in church, we're not even taught that now boundaries is fashionable. Now boundaries is like this cool buzzword.
Trending word, yeah.
Yeah. Ooh, boundaries. But we see you're 40, I'm 41. I do not claim millennial. I don't. I actually get offended when people call me a millennial.
Right.
Because my parents were born in the 1940s. And so just by virtue of that, there's no way I could be a millennial. Like if you have old school parents.
Right. You got an old soul, honey. You actually
yes.
You 55.
Yes. There was no boundaries. There was no because I said so. That's it. So it was just like your parents' word was what it was. And so the way you talk about your dad is just like, you got to get married. And you just like, okay, then I got to get married. Like kids today would just be like, no, mom, I'm not getting married. And no, like we would, our
if
generation.
I didn't say yes, my dad would have actually physically hurt me.
Yeah, we got slapped a lot. Our generation, it was not no talking back.
No, none whatsoever. And God bless my parents. They did the best that they could. They only did what they saw. They tried to do better than what they experienced and saw themselves. Mm-hmm. But you have to keep in mind, and this is why even when I talk about even on like platforms like Joyce Meyer, with that huge organization, and I'm the only person of color on the talk show, and I represent so many people that don't really get to speak about this on Christian platforms as far as like how racism and even slavery. I don't like to go too far back into that too much to dig too deep, but you think about it. My dad's mom was raised by my great grandma who used to also pick cotton.
Right.
You feel like real. You feel like it's so removed, it's not. And so her way of shut your mouth, don't ask questions because she didn't want to get beat by her owner. Mm-hmm. That's not something we like to talk about. She's the person that raised the woman who raised my dad.
Yeah.
You have to think about the fact that even my dad, who didn't know any better, hit us often to the point that it wasn't okay. Mm-hmm. But he also was very dogmatic when it came to what I say go. Mm-hmm. What I say goes. You don't ask questions. And then put on top of that layer, like you can understand, like my dad's a pastor. So then those voices are distorted when I didn't know if it was God talking or dad talking. Is this traumatized father or ordained pastor? There's a lot to unpack with things like that. And I think we need to talk about those types of things more often, and not just during Black History Month, but that it has directly affected people like me that were raised by people that were raised by people that were raised by people that were owned by white people. Yeah. So it's a whole situation.
Just trying to make sure your children know. Excuse me. I'm like sniffling. Girl, I got a lot going on. But just to make sure your children know that they have a voice.
Yeah.
My mother was very like, I got to make sure my child has a voice. So my mother, she did better at not being so dogmatic, but my parents split when I was 2. So my mom was a single mom. And then her sisters, I had like a team of mothers. It was weird. So my mom would just be like, try to be loving and understanding. I would say about 75 to 80% of the whoopings I got as a child was from people that wasn't even my mama. It was just like, you
I
need to
remember
whoop
getting
her.
whooped by my principal, my teacher. Well, my teacher used to have her ruler wrapped in electrical tape and soaking.
See,
She would go around the room. I'm
you then
like,
pop it with the yardstick, like,
go get a switch. Who
yeah,
are you? Oh, you mother boring. Okay, at church. Okay, like
yeah.
everybody had license to spank you. Yeah.
These kids today, they have no idea. Community
None
butt whoopings
whatsoever.
were a real thing.
Yeah,
So
none
it
whatsoever.
wasn't, your parent could be the most understanding parent ever, but it's just like, it was this understanding. And I miss certain aspects of that era because now we've gone all the way to the other extreme where can't nobody tell me nothing and everybody's just hands off and these kids are just like terrorizing the community. So it's just like we done extremes.
Need balance. There
Yeah.
definitely needs to be balance, but the fear that instilled in our generation,
Mhm.
it caused us to raise our children
Different.
lawlessly.
Yeah.
Because like, and not me, like, I mean, but the majority of my friends have
Mhm.
raised their kids that are my daughter's peers quite lawlessly because they were so traumatized by the abuse and
Yeah.
that we received when we were younger. And
Yeah.
so they wanted to be nothing like that with their children, so they've completely abandoned ship when it comes to any kind of discipline. But that
Mhm.
fear is what forced me into marrying at that point when I honestly didn't want to get married for at least another 4 years.
And
Like,
then had you waited and done it the timeline you wanted to do it, God could have revealed to you that this is not the person you should marry, or maybe you should get married, but I need some time to develop some character things in you and develop some character things in him,
yeah.
and then bring y'all together, and then things could have went differently. You never
Or
know,
I might not have married him at all. Like, that's one
right? You
red
could have
flag I
God could
was
have showed you
seeing.
somebody else.
Exactly. And one of the
Yeah.
things that I noticed, one of the reasons why I was okay with it was because he had kind of like cheated on me as teenagers before. And I was
Mhm.
like, I need to see if you can handle a long-term engagement because a marriage is a lifetime. So
Yeah.
what my parents did with forcing me to get married at that point, they robbed me of the discernment that I had for my own self.
Mm.
Like
Yeah.
and I used to say to my ex sometime, like, I really felt like you were my piece of chicken, but I got that chicken too soon and it gave me salmonella. You wasn't cooked yet.
It wasn't done.
It wasn't done cooking. And so I
Yeah.
ate it too soon and now I'm sick. And
Mm.
so I do think my parents robbed me of that period that I felt like I needed for our
Yeah.
relationship. So yeah.
Ooh, girl. I'm looking at my questions and I'm just like, okay. Because we it's so much. Now, as you're going forward, and I'm sure reflecting on a lot of life lessons that you learned, because you can pick apart, how things in your upbringing set you up for that. You can pick apart just how you accepted some things that let's talk about that. How you accepted some things that the you are today since going through that, you're like, I shouldn't have accepted that. Tell me about that.
Oh man, there were so many things in my marriage that I know who I am now
Mhm.
won't tolerate.
Yeah.
Um, there was this wonder in being in seeing the potential
Mhm.
in him that I was
Mhm.
willing to put my things aside to help him move forward
Mhm.
and to help build what he needed to be because I loved him so much.
Yeah.
Never again will I put my things aside and the things that God's placed in my heart and that He's created me to do
Mhm.
to help a man. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to help a man. That doesn't mean
Right.
that.
But it
But
doesn't mean you have to put yourself on a sacrificial altar of sorts. Yeah.
that's exactly. I'll never do that again. I'll never
Yeah.
pause the momentum that was divine. I
Yeah.
paused it. I put a screeching halt to what God was doing. I remember when I had just gotten offered a huge record deal, and I paused it to
Wow.
to to help him build his brand and build his ministry and build his nonprofit that's no longer in existence. Like,
Wow.
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I paused at least 5 years just to focus on him. And most of the
Oh my
things that I
God.
did for him in that time frame don't exist. And that's a risk you're going to have to take whenever you invest in someone, whether it be
Mhm.
monetarily, creatively, spiritually, whatever. You risk the chance of it not bearing fruit.
Yeah.
That's what a risk is. And so, but I will never again, for the sake of love,
Yeah.
pause what I know God's telling me to do. I won't do it. I just will not do it anymore. So that's one thing. My health, my my physical health. I will
Yeah.
never let myself just go ever again.
Mm.
Because he didn't care if I wore baggy clothes, or he wanted me to wear baggy clothes, or he didn't care if I wore makeup or not, or things like that. I like that stuff for myself.
Yeah.
Never again will I look back sometimes at some of my photos, even when I was married, and I'm like, who was I? Like,
Mm.
what happened to me, the person I was before I married him, and I see myself coming back naturally now.
Mhm.
And I will never allow myself, even with I mean, of course, my weight gonna fluctuate because I'm a black woman, I'm curvy and whatever. I like
Yeah.
chicken sometimes, and ain't nobody gonna stop me from doing that. But as far as like balancing it out and working out and drinking my water and like eating healthy, and just
Yeah.
balance. I'll never put that on hold for the sake of being comfortable with a man ever again. Like I look
Mm.
at myself in pictures after I had my daughter and I went through such a depression state. And that because I was so drastically changed from being a cheerleader, a size 0-1, to instantly becoming like a 1-0. Like it was
Yeah.
like my body went through such a huge change at that time that I just felt ugly. And never
Mm.
again will I tolerate being with someone that I'm committed to, and them not affirm me while I'm at my lowest. Like
Wow.
if we loving each other, like he
Yeah.
never my ex never talked badly to me, but he never spoke me up. He never made me feel like a queen. He never made me feel beautiful. You
Yeah.
know, I the same way I'm gonna uplift my man next go around, I need him
Mhm.
to match that energy.
Yes. Keep
Even when
that
I
same
feel
energy.
keep that energy up here, even when I go through my fluctuation of weight, or when I take my weave out, and
Yeah.
you see me in my natural state, I still need you to think I'm fine. Like I'm gonna get
Mhm.
finer, but I still need you to tell me. I remember
Yeah.
one stylist of mine was so mad when I was married. I was walking the red carpet at like the Double Awards or something. And he had custom made a dress for me, and it was like a bodycon dress. And I was probably like I was probably like a size 8. My goal size now, like I was probably like a size 8 at the time. But I still had that pouch, that little stomach pooch,
The
because
baby pouch that
the
can
baby
only be
pouch,
surgically removed.
honey. And then I
Yes.
had that C-section on top of it, so it was just
Mhm.
hanging over. It's just she just was hanging out, and
I
so
call it the kangaroo pouch.
honey, but I'm gonna get her snapped off. Okay, she going somewhere. As soon as I get my coin up, this baby is out of here. But I'm
Hey.
saying, but at that time, I didn't want to wear that bodycon dress because I didn't like how it looked. I was like, I still look pregnant, even though my daughter's like 5 at the time.
Mhm.
And he was like, looked at my ex-husband. He was like, he should be rubbing that stomach and telling you that you're beautiful and thank you for bringing life to my child. Thank you.
Wow. Yeah.
So once he said that to me, that helped me realize like that's the standard I have for myself moving forward. Everything that I'm
Mhm.
insecure about, grant you, I need to find my security in Christ alone, honestly, and find my own self-worth and self-love. But whoever I'm sharing life with moving forward does need to affirm me when you know that I'm insecure about a thing. So those are some things.
That's huge. I'm so glad you said that because as women, we can be hard on ourselves because society just has these crazy standards of beauty that are like impossible for women to live up to.
Exactly.
But the person who is our person, for better or for worse, they should always be gassing us up. Like I will say this, that's something that I never really thought about until you said it just now, because that's kind of always been my norm. And over the years that Rodney and I have been married, he has always not just nothing fake about it. He has always loved every stage. And I have been like Oprah Winfrey, like this, her show. She said one time on her show, she was like, she got every size in the world in her closet. I promise, like
All of
throughout
them,
the
okay?
course of our marriage, there have been some sizes that I just don't never want to see again. And when I was that size, he was just like, "You so beautiful." And I go back and I look at them pictures and I'm like, I ought to slap you. I was looking like the Michelin man. You sitting here talking about I was beautiful. You boy, why would you set me up for failure like that? He was like, "But you always been beautiful to me." And I'm just like, okay, we're gonna have some balance with this because
Right,
like
some
I'm
balance
glad you
is
think
good,
so,
baby.
but
I'm
sir,
glad you think I'm cute, but
don't let me get that fluffy no more. Don't let me do that.
right, for my own health, for my health. Like, don't let me
Yes.
do it.
Yes. I
So
want to
you,
know what spiritual tools, what natural tools you have been using to deal with this. I would call it a tsunami of tragic events because you were going through this divorce in 2020
yeah,
as the world around us was falling apart. It's just
yeah.
like, okay, divorce, pandemic,
My
George
daughter,
Floyd riots.
yeah, my
Yeah.
daughter was in her senior year of high school, having a
Mhm.
whole breakdown of like, I can't even go to school my senior year. So that
Yeah.
trauma, like you said, the rioting, and
Mhm.
it was nuts. And then for me also, I was working full time at a church, like I said before.
Mhm.
Um, and we pivoted from meeting and gathering physically to online, and we were considered essential
Mm.
as church workers. And so
Yeah.
I was working probably more during the pandemic than I worked, period. Like, and honestly, if you were in ministry, you know that like I was working probably about 60-hour weeks anyway,
Yeah.
because you work, but then you have to go to every service too, and you're at work at service too. So um but during the pandemic, we pivoted to everything digital. And because I was the creative and worship pastor, like I had to create content. We were basically on a digital revival online. So
Mm.
I was exhausted. I was emotionally drained, felt so much betrayal. And
Yeah.
because the church was so concerned with making sure that we had content that compared with the other churches online, because so many people were church hopping digitally during the
Yeah.
pandemic, that
They still are.
yeah, they were
Yeah.
more concerned about that than they were about my spiritual well-being.
Yikes.
Um, and I was dying. And so I had to quit working at that church, even though it was my primary salary. And one thing I don't really talk about much is that my ex actually took my car and forged my signature to get a new car before he left me. So he left me with no car. And at the
What?
time, because I was working at the church had vehicles that I was driving. But when I quit the church, I didn't have a car. So then I had to try to, during the pandemic, get a car. It was just
Oh my
so,
God.
guys. And that's another thing when we talked about before we went on break about things I would tolerate and won't tolerate. I will not tolerate putting everything in my name ever again. And I did that
Mm.
off of love and because I knew him. And I knew he was building his credit up, and I knew I had great credit, that I put everything in my name. And but when he was able to leave that, when he left our divorce, he left me with everything. The house, the cars, everything other than the one he forged my signature for. So it's just a lot of things that I've changed and grown, and
Mm.
I'm like, I'll never do that again, you know. But some of the things that helped me were things that I didn't even think would help me. I really expected the church to speak up more, but because the church is so uncomfortable with divorce in the church, infidelity in the church, that the church was silent. The church was
Mm.
quiet because the
Wow.
church didn't want to look like they were picking sides. They left me to fight for this by myself. And I've seen it so many times with women,
Excuse the
especially.
background noise. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I know that baby is up. And so like I see it in the church too often, where the
Yeah.
pastor or the preacher has an affair and the wife just has to fade in the distance because people want to keep liking the sermons and liking the
Hmm.
posts and acting like nothing's happening when the woman is trying to put her pieces of her life back together. So I went
Yeah.
the route of a lot of therapy, because like I
Yeah.
said earlier, a big part of what I wanted to do, because I didn't want to come out of this bitter, and I didn't
Yeah.
want to come out of this, I wanted to be able to get into another relationship and be happy about it.
Mm.
But I knew I needed to heal from some of my childhood trauma. And so and not just childhood trauma, but trauma even from the marriage, and
Yeah. And the friendship, because you lost a friend too.
I lost 2 friends because keep in
Wow.
mind that the woman he was having the affair with was a friend of mine. And, and so I lost the betrayal of a friend and my best friend. So it's like that was
Mhm.
traumatic for me. So I went through a lot of therapy. I had a Christian counselor that could always speak word over me, but I
Mm.
also had a regular one that if I
Yeah.
didn't want to always say the churchy words, I could say whatever I really needed to feel because what I didn't want to do is go through this the Christian way so that
Mhm.
I can look good to other people. Like
Yeah.
I want it when you're in a situation like that and you feel so muzzled, like and you feel like you have no one. I
Yeah.
just wanted to be healed by whatever means necessary, and it wasn't pretty. It was
Yeah.
not pretty. There were times where I was just snotting and crying. I thought about hurting myself. Like I just wanted life
Wow.
to end. I wanted it to end because
Wow.
I was so hurt and so distraught by it. So even to the point where I made a decision because I couldn't sleep without crying. I was miserable. My thoughts in my mind, and I prayed that God would give me blank sleep because I was dreaming so much. I didn't want to see anymore. That
Wow.
show me anymore. Like I was mad at God that I even told like my therapist, I was like, I think I need to be tested for depression. I ended up being classified as depressed and I went on depression meds because I needed something to regulate my hormones. I was out of
Mhm.
whack. And then with me having a hysterectomy, like my hormones were imbalanced. So I started getting
Yeah.
vitamin infusions. Like there are things like that where chemically, like as women, we have to keep those things in mind. So I
Yeah.
had to go on like estrogen and things like that to balance my hormones because they were so out of whack with the trauma on top of
Mhm.
me being 40 and like, like really trying to
Yeah.
my
That's
body was
real.
my body went through like it felt like an 18-wheeler hit me, so I had to do whatever it took to help me, get through this. So most people want to hear me say that I went to all these church groups. No, it was COVID. I didn't want COVID. I didn't want nobody nasty germs. And I didn't
Listen.
trust the church because these people that the person he had an affair with was at the church. And so I
Oh
really
God.
I didn't want nothing to do with no church stuff,
Ooh.
nothing. And so me and God were beefing because I felt like God was silent. um, I felt like he was silent. I felt like he could have warned me. I felt like he could have stopped it. So we were beefing. Me and God were
Mm.
beefing.
Yeah.
But one thing I did not let go of was, like I said, Christian counseling. But also I kept the group with Joyce. Like
Good.
I kept a good group of women that love the Lord, but that
Mhm.
also were balanced enough to just be like, what do you want to do? Do you want to burn your dress? Yes, I do. I just don't say anything about Jesus to me right now. I just want to burn my dress. Like,
Mhm.
I just want, so you have to have friends in your life that are balanced,
Yeah.
that can be human with you and like go to a restaurant, have a girls' night, but then also if you need to pray, be able to take you in the bathroom and pray,
Mhm.
like both. And so that's
Yeah.
one thing that I kept that around. Another thing is I found people to help. I found people, and not when I say help, not help in the traditional way that I've usually done it, but telling my story while I was
Mhm.
going through it was something I found out helped people so much because
Yeah.
I always want to tell their testimony after,
After.
like after
And
they,
God is good.
and now
Everything
I got
is
a new
fine.
man, and now I got a new car, and now I even told Joyce that I said, Joyce, you always like to tell your stories after they didn't happen. Like, what are you going through right now? Tell the
Yeah.
folks you're having cataract surgery. Like, stuff
Mhm.
like that. I'm like, and how do you feel about that right now?
Yeah.
Because what it did was because there were so few people that really talk about how they feel in the moment,
Yeah.
it made me feel like I was this terrible person for wanting
Mhm. For
to,
feeling normal feelings. Yeah.
where I wanted to. I saw it in movies. I want to slash a tire. Like I want to bust a window. I didn't,
Yeah.
but I wanted to. And I'm like, where are people that can make me know, like help me to know that this is normal to feel it in this moment? So talking
Mhm.
through the podcast has definitely helped me. Counseling has helped me. Good Christian friends have helped me. My prayer life was different, has been extremely different. A lot of times it's me not saying anything and allowing God to
Mhm.
talk to me. It's more like meditating.
Mm.
When I did use words, my thoughts were everywhere and jumbled, and I didn't really want to talk to God that much. So I used an app called Trello, which is really a
Okay.
project management tool. But I had to organize my prayers because when I would talk to God, everything was just like, and how could you? I don't like that.
Listen, it be
So,
like that.
so I had to organize my prayers, and I put enemies, things I'm
Mhm.
thankful for, things that love God to help me with, scriptures. But I did, like I said, enemies. I had to pray for them. I had to list their names out. I
Yeah,
had a whole column with their name. So I had to get real organized with my prayers.
that's a
And
good tip.
yeah, I
Y'all
had
need to jot that down. That's a
yeah,
good one.
I had to. I had to
Mhm.
get organized with my prayers because my prayer time ended up sounding the exact same every time.
Yeah.
Because I was so hurt. But I knew afterwards, I'd be like, I know I had other stuff to say, and
Yeah.
you think you know my heart, but I wanted to feel more satisfied and gratified with my
Like it
prayer.
was productive. Yeah.
Yeah, and so then I got comfortable pulling up my computer, opening up the app on my phone, and like scrolling through and honestly putting on the whole armor of God.
Mhm.
I would have to put that on. I had early morning prayers and evening prayers that I organized. Trello had helped me with a lot of that. It really did. It helped me to pray for our country. I was able to still pay. I feel good about that because I was still able to pray for the pandemic,
Mhm.
the world. I was able to pray for the things that I know were on God's heart too, and not make my prayers so selfish, and it
Yeah.
made me feel back like myself again because I didn't always pray about myself like that until I went through this trauma. So that
Yeah.
helped me be more organized. I wrote scriptures out, and sometimes I would put them in my shoes so I could literally be standing on the word. Like that sound
Oh,
crazy.
okay. No, it doesn't. That makes a lot of sense.
I had to do anything that could keep me feeling like I was saved because I was like, I don't feel like I'm saved. Things I'm thinking, I don't feel. So I had to
I'm
like,
having homicidal thoughts, Jesus.
Lord Jesus, I'm feeling like Medea, like
I want to bust his head to the white meat, Jesus.
I unfollowed anybody that I saw would like any of his stuff. I'm like, block, block, block. I'm like,
That is real, girl.
oh, so y'all still liking his post and y'all know he cheated on me? Like, girl, like, so
Ooh,
I had to
yeah.
like disconnect for a little bit and then like do things like I had post-it notes all over my mirrors, like affirming myself. So like
Mhm.
affirmations, I had to say like you are beautiful. Like that affair was not because you're ugly. That it's not
Yeah.
because you're a bad wife. You're a great mom. You're a great person. You're a great. I had to remind myself. I had to write those out when I would feel those good moments. Write them out then
Yeah.
because when I felt bad, I'm like, so I would stick post notes on my laptop. I would stick post notes on every mirror, every window, just so I could like see it around the place. So those are some practical things that I did. But putting on that whole armor every
Mhm.
morning it was something I did intentionally. I did it for me and my daughter. While and I try to do it every day, but
Yeah.
like especially while we were going through that season of the divorce part,
Mhm.
I had to do that intentionally.
And I'm so glad you talked about that because when you go through a breakup or just any failed relationship, it could be a friendship or anything, there's a message that gets communicated to you. And that person may never say it verbally, but just the fact that at one point they vowed to be there for you and then all of a sudden they switched up, it sends a message to you. And
Yes.
it's like loud, it's screaming at you, like somebody is shouting this message at you with a bullhorn.
Yes.
And if you don't combat the message or messages, because there's several messages that those kinds of experiences send to you, and if you don't counteract, if you don't talk back to the enemy when he's talking to you
Yeah.
through those messages, you'll internalize them.
It's easy
Like
to do.
it's very easy to do.
You're gonna automatically do that. Like
Yeah.
just telling you, like, because everybody used to say, because I remember saying things like, I didn't want to go to church or go into certain social events because I'm like, I'm embarrassed. Like,
Mm,
I'm embarrassed to go. And my girlfriends were like, girl, don't be embarrassed. You didn't do that. He did that. Well,
yeah.
I'm embarrassed that he wasn't committed to me. Like,
Yeah.
how, how
Mm,
can him cheating on me not embarrass me? Like, I don't
yeah.
understand. Like, yeah, he the one that should be held with his head hung low because he's the one who committed the adultery. However,
Yeah.
I was committed on. And so it made me
Yeah.
feel like I was ugly, like I wasn't worthy, like I wasn't enough. Like
Mhm.
it took me back to the trauma of being in that bathroom the night of our wedding and not knowing what to do sexually. Well, maybe he wasn't pleased sexually. Like maybe I could have done better with that. Maybe, all you go through
Yeah.
all of the things, every flashback over the course of the relationship of like moments where you were insecure, those are the times when it comes up the most. And so you
Yeah.
have to be intentional with understanding that you have now, even though every day, but like, especially when you go through like a breakup or something like a death in the family, any kind of huge trauma,
Yeah.
um, understand that it's a war zone. It's
It
a
is.
battlefield, and you have to dress appropriately spiritually because Satan's coming for your mind, for your heart, especially your mind. And that's why Joyce wrote that book, Battlefield of the Mind, because it's
Yes.
in your mind, it's your thoughts, it's your thinking, and he attacks those every day. And so I had to be intentional with putting that on. And because I knew there was a strategy, there were like board meetings in the spirit realm trying to attack me and my family. And honestly, I know they celebrated when he actually committed the affair. I know the darkness team was like, yeah, celebrating because I know this, that God told me this. That's one reason why I wasn't allowed to like file for divorce. God wouldn't allow me to. He told me, even though you're in your rights, within your rights to file, I will not let you. How because you don't want the blood of this on your hands. You don't want any of the blood of this on your hands. He said, because what I had planned for you guys was going to affect so many people in such a positive way. But because he's clearly canceled that and killed that dream and killed that plan, I'm gonna turn this around for your good. And you still have a huge, beautiful plan ahead. But that blood of that slaughter of your union has got to be on his hands completely. So,
That is deep.
ain't that deep? Like he showed me that. He showed me like the blood on his hands. He's like, you don't want anything to do with that.
Now, y'all, don't come writing me talking about she tried to say women can't file for. She didn't say that. She said that's what God told her.
No, because I still had the papers pulled up. Don't y'all don't. Girl, if
people
I didn't help a lot since all of this. I didn't help a lot of my friends break. Girl, you better file. Did God tell you not to? Okay, no, I'm living vicariously through you. Then go on. You want me? What you want? You want me to go to the courts with you? What you want me to do? I am definitely not saying that. And if you're in an abusive situation, get out. If you're in something that somebody is treating you emotionally, abusing you, or physically abusing you, or cheating on you, and all that narcissistic abuse, get out. Like if you can get out, I ain't saying that, but I'm telling you what God told me. What he told me, because he already saw on the other side that my ex was already planning to step out. He knew it was going to happen quick. That did not happen. It wasn't a long drawn out time. It all happened so quickly. The moment I found out from a dream, I confronted him on it. He denied it. God confirmed it. I had proof, and I showed him. He left, and then he filed. So it's like it was so quick. It's so unbelievable that he didn't leave me. And if it would have gone too long, me and God would have been like, now I'm gonna have to go ahead and disobey you, God, because you have to make me look like no fool now.
Yeah.
But no, he did that, and I was mad at God for that too. I was mad. Like, I don't even get to have my moment to serve him. I want to be able to be like, take my power back. Then I had to have a divorce via Zoom. Like,
oh God, I didn't even think about that because the pandemic is still going on.
I didn't even wear no fur coat with the sunglasses. I wanted to look like Cookie Line going in. I want to look snatched. I want to make him regret ever hurting me. I didn't even get that. But y'all, I still put on a whole show via Zoom. I had shades on and everything, all black. I was like, it's a funeral. And I was rocking. The whole video, the whole Zoom. I'm like,
girl, you are funny. And I know I love the extraness because that would have totally been me. We hear
extra.
What is your Enneagram? Because I just feel a kindredness.
I can't even remember. I think is it a 9? What is it? I don't even know off the top of my head. I don't even know. I got to look back at the test that I took. But yes, girl, I was extra. When I tell you I was extra, I sat there and I was like, I had the tissues on deck. He cheated on me, Judge, Your Honor. with my friend, baby.
Now, let's clarify something with that too. So the person he's married to now is not your friend or is?
No.
Ooh, okay, I'm sorry. I just had to laugh at the
That was
devil
a
right
good little
quick.
petty Wendy Williams moment.
How you doing, friend?
No.
Not you stole my whole husband. And
Yeah,
then he left me for somebody else.
he ended up cheating on her with someone else that he found on Instagram, and now they married.
Girl. Okay. So that's don't be, yeah, I had to clear that up.
No, it's not the same person. But she wanted to marry him. She told everybody they were engaged.
Wow.
The original girl, yeah. Who was so she divorced her husband.
Oh,
and-
right, because she was married too. Oh,
yeah. It was a big mess.
wow.
I felt like I was watching something. Like I didn't feel like I was the person in it. I was like, what is this foolishness? So don't ever get too secure in your situation and too bold where you and bougie. And my relationship is so this. You better pray over that relationship every single day.
That's
You
real.
better not feel like you so fine that nobody won't ever cheat on you, like, because Satan is so sneaky, and the person and they always go down. They always like go
That's
a level
true.
down, so it's not like I'm so fine. Yeah, you are so fine, but that's not what it is. It's a spiritual attack. So be smart about it and pray over your relationship. Don't get so caught up in doing ministry that you don't cover your own situation, your own family. I was covering my family, but I could have done even more because I knew that the calling on our lives was so great. I should have been even more intentional with it, but don't get too comfortable now. Keep yourself looking spruce. And I ain't saying try to keep your man, but it goes same for the men too. Like y'all take care of y'all, because I've heard of plenty of, since I've told people about this story, so many men and women have come out to me to say that my spouse cheated on me. Like, so it's happening on both sides.
Yeah.
But a lot of us always talk about how we let ourselves go, and it's not our fault. It's not your fault that someone cheats and has a wandering eye, but we can do things as far as prayer spiritually, but also physically. Like, take care of yourself, keep yourself looking good, smelling good, and feeling good for yourself, because that self-confidence means more than anything, and it translates in your confidence even in your marriage. So, girl, it's a whole.
I gotta ask you one last question because I don't want to keep you all day.
Oh.
But when most of us have traumatic breakups or whatever, and we do the divorce, boop, 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 it's over, we get to move on with our lives. This is a little different because you all still have a child together. So how have you been navigating that? Because it's not like you can just never speak to him again. You guys have to communicate at some point for things regarding your daughter, even though, she's in college and she's grown, but.
No, we have to, no, even getting her to college. Like I had to, but I still had to file as a single parent, which is something I never thought I would have to do. Was like get my daughter enrolled in school as a single parent. Like, no, I do not like him. I love him for the sake of Jesus, but that's it. I don't like him. So like I still don't. I'm still healing. I don't care. He's like, because he likes to say, since you so healed. I'm like, who said I was healed? I'm not, honey. I am still
like you can still catch these hands now.
Stay far away, okay? Stay away because I'm still human. Like, if Jesus could flip tables when he was mad, I can show. So, like, things came up even with his new wife wanting to come to my daughter getting moved on campus. I'm like, she didn't have anything to do with her life. I don't want her to be there when I'm there. If she wants to come with you, then we got to stagger our time. Like, I do not. I don't like that man. It's not amicable. Like, you can't. For anybody out here that's like going through a divorce or something like that, if you want it to be amicable on the other side, make sure that you start it amicably. Like, you can't, because you want to sweep things under a rug and act like it didn't happen, and you want to put in your mind that this was an amicable situation to make yourself feel better. Like, it doesn't work that way. You have to actually repent for what you've done. You have to actually own what you've done for the person to just let it go and work well with you. Now, we work together in some regards, but for a long time I had him blocked. I have nothing to say to him. Like, because primarily I was too focused on trying to heal and fix my life and get reestablished that I didn't want to talk to him. He tried to destroy me. And in a lot of ways, he did destroy that old version of me, And so hopefully I'll get to a place where I can be cool with him. I don't know. But right
Mm.
now, I don't ever want to be his friend. I don't ever want to go to dinner with him. I don't speak negatively to him about, to my daughter, but she's old enough that she sees things on her own,
Yeah.
but I don't I don't have an interest in pretending like a lot of church folks do. Oh yeah, we're this. No, stay away from me, sir. Don't text me. Don't call me. No, you're blocked on all of my social media. No, you need to let him see your glow up. No, then because I might accidentally see his, and I'm not interested. Like, so I'm not interested.
Yeah.
So to protect my peace, I stay far away.
That's real. And I'm glad you said that. And this is why I wanted to have these real conversations, because I don't want people to feel that's going through this that they have to have a pristine churchy reaction to everything.
No,
If you're having real raw human emotions, you don't need to. A lot of times when people do narcissistic stuff, they feel like they have like they get to dictate to you how your response should be.
oh yes, yes.
And then I'm not saying like he did this, I'm just like in general,
Oh,
because I've
but
been
he
through,
did do that.
yeah. It's kind of like a textbook narcissism handbook. And I don't know what's worse, narcissist or Christian narcissist, because then they'll try to make you feel like you aren't being a good Christian if you don't talk to me. Like if you don't talk to me, or you don't, whatever they want you to do, then you didn't forgive. And you can forgive people and never speak to them again.
Exactly.
You can.
Exactly. I think the Christian narcissist is way more toxic.
Yeah.
They're able to lace scripture into their narcissism.
Yeah.
Or they to try to justify their narcissism and to try to make you speed up your healing process when no person is going to speed up my healing process because I'm still triggered daily. Now, am I triggered the same way that I was triggered a year ago? No. But
Yeah.
like I am still triggered by things, and I'm not going to lie because God knows my heart already. And he knows that I don't want to be triggered anymore. And I'm doing the work to not be triggered anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, like a narcissist that's a Christian wants to say, that you're supposed to love and you da 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 and you have to do this and da 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 and
Mhm.
like God, what does God feel about this? My God is just fine with me. Me and my God
Yeah.
talk. I just got finished talking to him, and he said, "You're doing good, girl." So like that's
Yeah.
what you have your own personal relationship, so that you're not puppeted by people's narcissism or spiritual bypassing, because that's a
Yeah.
big thing where you try to bypass things with Christian rhetoric, just all kinds of things. So yeah, it's a real thing. So guard your hearts daily, and don't feel like you have to um, be a certain way because everybody's going to grieve differently. Now, that
That's
didn't
true.
give me an excuse to do anything crazy because I did not do anything crazy. Even though I feel like I would have been a little justified,
I'm
I haven't
proud of you, because I
I
don't think I
haven't
would have
broken
made
a
it.
window. I haven't slashed a tire. I haven't punched anybody. Even though you want some more little tea real quick, the original girl actually tried to file a restraining order on me. She got scared. Ain't that crazy how you do something to me and you get scared? I ain't now listen, Nikeya, I have never had a fight in my life, but because she was so paranoid for what she had done to me, she was scared and filed a restraining order on me, and the judge threw it out because I've never attacked this woman. So it's like it's just, do you see how like it
How you
tried.
gonna try to be out here taking people man and be scary?
You better wear your big girl drawers and really do the thing if you're gonna do the thing. But
Right.
got scared, completely scared, and tried to file one of them. And I wasn't even thinking about her. I haven't seen her. I don't look her up, and that's another thing. I blocked anything to do with the situation because I
Yeah.
noticed anytime I saw anything that reflected or reminded me of it, it triggered me in a negative way and made me sad for the rest of the day. So I
Yeah.
didn't want to see her social. I don't want to see her ex-husbands. I don't want to see anybody that's connected to her, even though they were my friends. If you're still friends with her, I'm actually blocking you too. No shade, no hard feelings. I'm protecting my peace at all costs because I know I'm about to snap.
Yeah.
So
That's
that kind
real.
of stuff, I'm about to snap because I always used to say, you mess with my man, my baby, or my money, it's over for you. And
Yeah.
and this person really did mess with all of that. And so So I mean, I felt like I was about to snap, so I had to protect my peace. So this doesn't give you a license to go crazy on people,
Mhm.
but it does give you permission to feel whatever you feel, but do whatever you need to do to maintain peace.
That makes a lot of sense. So, what is you, girl? First of all, thank you for this because you are helping so many people. And I want to talk about that as our last wrap up. Like, what is Jay doing now? Because I saw that you became a John Maxwell coach. And so
Yes,
you are helping people in multiple ways. Tell us about that and some other things that you're
yes.
up to.
Yes, like we've mentioned before, I am the co-host of the Talk It Out podcast and on Enjoying Everyday Life for Joyce Meyer. So I talk about my life and my day to day and my
Mhm.
spiritual journey, the whole thing on the podcast. But I also do some creative production for John Maxwell, and I'm
Okay.
certified as a speaker and leadership coach through John Maxwell. So I go around and coach, train one-on-one coaching, but mostly it's more focused towards leadership coaching
Yeah.
to build the leadership inside of you. But I do some life coaching as well. But yeah, I'm helping people as much as possible. I'm writing a book currently. I'm writing a new
Yes.
album.
Okay.
I'm helping other people write albums. So seriously, like pouring back out and sharing my story in creative ways is
Mhm.
something that and and trying to find the the light at the end of the tunnel to give
Yes.
people hope at the end of it, even though it's a mess, is my goal right now. Yeah.
Well, I'm excited about all of that. And please tell everyone how they can connect with you, how they can find out more about what you're doing. And
Yes.
y'all got to follow her on social media because one, she's hilarious. And two, she will bless you. If you love this discussion, you will love her post as well. But go
Thank
ahead.
you. Thank you. Please follow me on social media. I change my social handles all the time, but right now it's on Instagram. That's the primary one that you can find me on is on
Okay.
Instagram. It's at J Talks. So JAITALKS. At J Talks. And if you click on the link, you'll be able to connect with me on all the other social media platforms. So there's a
Good.
link tree link on there. Just
Mhm.
follow me on that and then go through all the other stuff. And you can see the Joyce Meyer stuff, John Maxwell stuff, music stuff, everything that I'm doing is on there. And so, yeah, my website is justj.com. So, JUSTJAI.com. If you would like to book me for a podcast or to bring me in to speak or to coach or to help you write a song, hit up booking at justj.com.
Thank you so much. I am so grateful to you for coming on and talking to us today. I have thoroughly enjoyed this very real, refreshing, hilarious, and necessary discussion. And I appreciate you once again, Jay, everybody.